I am a map maker. The Source engine is my absolute favorite, because I think it is safe to be said that nobody knows how to create a correct 3D engine these days, and Source is just about the only engine that I know of, at least to this day, that is done right. I started creating maps around 2015. Up until this point, my knowledge isn't up to expertise level, but I have a considerably wide knowledge when it comes to this sort of application, and I'm widely known for some of my horror maps that I've created, some of them being GM Hyde, GM Hyde Assembly, the Grief series, as well as GM Hyde Static Bound. GM Hyde 3 was never released due to some complications. However, after a comprehensive and enlightening amount of review, I think that GM Hyde is my absolute favorite series ever created across the Gary's Mod workshop. Yes, it is pretty broken and incomplete, but there's an aesthetic that it gives that just about no other map does. You see, what I like about the GM Hyde series is every time you play the map, the location of the jump scares is never the same. For instance, you could play just about any horror map and scope out where every single jump scare is, that way when you play it through, you can pretend like it's scary and make some money off YouTube. The point is, GM Hyde utilizes a mechanic that no other map does. This remarks the description known as entropy, or unknown. GM Hyde was a map started on September 1st of 2018. This was the year I graduated my sophomore year of high school and was becoming a junior. At this time I knew quite a bit about the Source engine, certainly not everything, but enough to make a Gary's Mod map that could be up to par with horror. Comprised of a ghost, a juggernaut, a little shark that swims around, and the great theme, as we all know, the TV, which is also found in GM Hyde Assembly and in GM Hyde Static Bound. The map is comprised with candles, emitting an orangish light ambient, some flashing lights, spooky ambient sounds, a ghost detector, as well as working cameras to try and spot any lurking entities that may be going around the map. The map is perfect for a horror scene, and this is why I released it to the workshop. Hyde is a unique horror map, known for its unique mechanics of randomized jump scares. However, the lore that Hyde carries is quite understated. In fact, I never really came up with a story for it, because a lot of the map's placements seemed random, the jump scares fell out of place, the monsters were pretty generic, and the ending was pretty silly. GM Hyde Assembly follows suit, leaving the player in what we know as a dream, is giving similar ghost detector equipment, and is thrown into an uprise of atmosphere that can as much as be described absolutely downright horrifying and ranked number 1 for the 2019 Summer Horror category. I was proud of this map, because I never thought I could create a map that would get number 1 over a particular year in the horror category of the Gary's Mod Workshop. Yes, I do hold this record. But even to this day, it's not really the reason I came back to try and investigate some of GM Hyde's meanings. What is the point of playing this map? Are you supposed to investigate a mansion and escape, kill the ghosts within it, or are you randomly just playing a scary map that has no meaning? In 2022, my understanding for GM Hyde has completely changed. Hyde conceptualizes a ghost hunt premise, where the player is alerted through equipment, avoiding a few mysterious entities, and the seeming ongoing ghost hunt is innocent in appearance. After all, it's unknown if I was to be inspired to make it purely for horror, or if there were other secrets that I embedded into the map. Unthinkably, Hyde's original resemblance may have a much darker meaning than the official storyline, and this is coming up next. My research began with very simple analysis, such as what rooms appear in the map, how many rooms there are, and associating a synonym for each room. Keep in mind that the information here is completely just for fun, and I had really no specific reason of doing it. I just thought it'd be funny to try to look over some stuff in the map and see what I could piece together. There are 7 total rooms that can be discovered, the first room of which is the Ghost Lab, followed by 6 more rooms: the library, the bedroom, kitchen, the bunks, maintenance closet, and pool. Each room was then assigned with a synonym describing each of the rooms and phrase or element of meaning. Where the lab could possibly mean research, the library would be a place of knowledge, the bedroom is a place of comfort, the kitchen being a place of energy, the master bedroom would indicate rest, the maintenance closet being a place of repairing, and the pool for entertainment. Diving deeper, we can see that nothing here is immediately obvious or out of place. However, the first clue that I found did not come from any of these rooms whatsoever. In my second area of detective work, I decided to take a look at the map image that was contained at the side of the wall where the lights indicate where the player is on the map at all times. This image is actually a texture, and it can be found in the game files. As it should already be known, as the player walks through the mansion, light bulbs will indicate the player's location. The map indication feature is also present in Hyde's sequel, known as GM Hyde Assembly, and if you have not played the first Hyde, then the map board's purpose should still be relatively simple to understand. When looking into this image in detail, it can be seen as the following of going above the map, zooming in with the camera tool, and taking a quick snapshot from height view. Here is me going above the map right now and taking a near exact photo from above and trying to inscribe it into a relatively simple looking texture that the map already has. At first glance, nothing is out of the ordinary. However, I was still curious about the original photo that was taken and embedded into the level upon the map's release. Let me just start off by saying, as for what appears in the level, it would never be speculated by me or anybody from what this image revealed about the map. This is the texture that is found on the map. When I first looked at this image, it looked kind of like a puzzle, and just under 5 minutes of speculation, there were a couple of obvious things that I noted. This, however, was done by bumping the image up to a saturation of almost 200%, additionally shifting the hue to a bluish color. That way some visible evidence can stand out. Due to the JPEG algorithm, the image does contain a super block-like compression. However, it does still require a good eye to spot any noticeable features on the image. First off, with the naked eye, something strange appears in the bedroom, resembling a figure in pixel art. Well, that's kind of interesting. By the looks of it, the figure appears to be holding something, and its shape is putting off a tall, slithery, squid-like feature in all black. Although it may be a mere coincidence, this was the small spark of motivation and evidence needed to continue deciphering Hyde. It's also important to note that this is all by chance, and I have no meaning of putting any of this into the map before its release. This was the matter of coming home one day and deciding to look through some of this just for fun. Either way, immediately I brought the map board's attention to an artist, and they were able to mark every possible resemblance of an object they could find embedded within the image. A friend of mine was also able to locate this little old man, which was found in the maintenance closet where all of the tools are. Upon obtaining every last bit of information about any possible JPEG resemblances inside the map, these were the ones that were drawn out by the artist as follows. At this point in time, there really isn't that much resemblance. However, what I noticed later on about this, it gets a lot more creepy. I did want to try to look through some of the binary using the pixels that were presented in the image. That's right, using the pixels off the image to decode words in binary. Piecing together this mystery couldn't have been possible without mathematical analysis, and this is really just because our eyes have limits and cannot do calculations as fast as a computer. In this section, I needed some moderate programming to go over the image and slap together a decoding of letters that I could take off of the image. I entered this with a fun and exciting anticipation of just some random words that could occur. Again, with this I had no expectation of solving anything, it was completely just for fun. Either way, it was time to decode some characters off of the map board. The way I did this was for every pixel change, I would represent a 1 in binary, and for every time the pixels are the same, I would just leave zeros in a following string of bits, and then later splice the whole segment into strides of 8 bits. Even without using a dictionary to search through some of the words, some of the text was already standing out. And I did laugh at the fact that some of the words looked like they were written in German. My curiosity pushed me through, and after downloading an English and German dictionary, I wrote a program to scan every possible word within the deciphered text. Remember that this is the same text that came from Hyde's map board earlier, and I will now put it up on the screen one more time for reference. The dictionary took about 1.5 minutes for both the German and English. I opened up the English one first, and then I noticed that the only English word that it found was dark. Well, that's kind of strange. It's not really that eerie considering that there are a lot of categories for 4-letter words, but the fact that this was the only distinguishable English word was slightly off-putting. Either way, out of 4,096 characters of garble, the only discernible word is dark. Although it was a pretty neat find, I wanted to know what else it might have contained. However, I do need to put up another disclaimer at this point in time in the video that this is where it gets mildly disturbing. Which, if you wish to continue, do so at your own risk, and I don't advocate that you continue to watch. I wanted to know what some of the other decodings my tool could generate by using other strides. I would try the strides 4, 6, 7, 8, 12, and 17. Once again, the stride is the number of pixels chosen off of the board to create binary and produce an alphabetical character. Now, this is where it gets really weird. I decided I would start with stride 4, giving me a range of 0 to 15 characters on its possible binary value, which gives me almost half the alphabet. I noticed that the only discernible word that it managed to decode was the word fall, and it was located in the pool room of the map. If you take into account already the fact that we use stride 8 and stride 4, which are both log-base 2 equivalent integers, we can find that this puts together a sentence of dark fall. Fall dark, you may say? Well, it's already quite amusing that all of this comes up with just a little bit of decoding, and hardly any extremities of mathematics were used. Stride 5 reveals a series of words, which are all in English, such as begs, bind, heat, hiss, huge, radar, rape, and raper. Now, let's back up for a minute. Not all of these words are inherently bad, but out of any possible words, half of them are pretty disturbing. I would like to share with you what stride 6 contained and what it revealed, but up to the time of making this video, I do not feel comfortable enough to share it. This is where I took a pause in my detective work, because what this stride unveiled was insanely graphic about my personal life, and I did not understand at the time why the words that I found came up. For reasons of privacy, I am going to move on to stride 7. This is where stuff got just really weird. So, these are the words. Ribs, anal, and harm. This absolutely makes no logical sense why these are the only words that would be uncovered in an English dictionary, and there's no other seemingly innocent 4-letter words that come up, such as ball, lamp, pill, leaf, gray, or like. Instead, so far up to stride 7, these are the 4-letter words that are coming back. Moving on to stride 8 from earlier, the word dark did appear in an English dictionary. However, I did forget that there is also a German translation that I wrote for my program. I decided to just take the words that it uncovered that were in German from my text file that my program generated and put them into Google Translate, and here are the words as follows. Off, suspects, baby, trembles, boy, gave, and refreshes. But why? Unfortunately, it doesn't end here. This is where stuff got even weirder. On stride 12, I didn't really have that much, or so I thought. The words that I could make out were haha, heat, lava, and teen. In German, the only discernible word that I could find was Tadel, which means blame. Now, stride 17 is kind of unique because that was the age that I was when I created GM Hyde. This is where my hypothesis for improbability completely goes out the window. The words that this uncovers is unbelievably eerie. Using the German translation first, we find Ikili, which means disgust, Gott, which translates to God, and Gotts, which translates to goodness, Kolo meaning okay, and Ross meaning out. Now, of course, this isn't important unless we know where all these words are coming from on the map image, and take a look at where they come from. Every discernible word off the German dictionary comes from, or at least very close to, the bedroom in GM Hyde. The word disgust is upon the entryway of the bedroom, which was also present where the word radar appeared in stride 5. God, which is right next to that figure that looks sort of black, tall and slithery, and goodness, which is right beneath it. We have the word advertising, which I happen to find in German as well, and the word okay off to the right. So all of these words are coming from the bedroom. But if that isn't already weird, take a look at the word God and goodness that is right next to the black figure. We also have this word out that's to the right of the figure, above these other resemblances in black JPEG art, but it doesn't really make that much sense to me what that word could mean. All that I know is we have disgust, which is upon entering the bedroom, and that a god of goodness is in this bedroom. What does that even mean? I did some aftermath going back to stride 5, and I see that 7 English words were produced in total, and after drawing a little bit of a conclusion, I did try to take in some of the more broader meanings for the words that were uncovered. Now, heat may just describe an attribute of hell, possibly? Hiss, I noticed, was uncovered right by a bookshelf in the library, which I tried to kind of piece together that it was because the Bible was in there and something was hissing at it. I don't know. The word huge, which may just be an adjective of Hyde's hidden agenda. The word radar, which is located in the bedroom right by the doorway, likely is associated with alerting players of the god that is inside there. I really don't know. There is, of course, that last word, raper, which does speak for itself given that it is positioned right by the entryway of an occasional jump scare in the hallway, and it is the only jump scare that does not move on the map. There is one more passage that I did find towards the end, and I think that this is the calling card to seize my research, because at that point in time, my mouth was dropped wide open, and I was personally downright horrified. Now, I didn't share the English translations of Stride 17. With the words that I was able to uncover, I managed to piece together the only discernible sentence, which was hunt the mind and wake it. I was sick to my stomach an hour later after trying to uncover some of the hidden meanings inside this image. At this point, my research for that map image inside the first GM Hyde ended. In 2018, GM Hyde became a pretty noticeable icon throughout the community. There is still a lot of meaning to uncover from this map. However, based off some of the simple research that it gave back, I think that it can only best be said that GM Hyde Assembly, GM Hyde Static Bound, and the new upcoming Hyde 3 that I plan to release in 2028 should be of extreme importance, and I already have an amazing story that I have tied together with this map. I did also forget to mention that upon creating GM Hyde a few years back, I was going through a pretty big emotional battle. I do want to be blunt and put it out there that a lot of this is actually spiritual, since it should already be a given that there is a lot more to life than just hear, touch, sight, and smell. This map has helped me realize that sometimes the things in life that are the most real are the things we can't see. I have found some pretty wicked connections that have actually brought this map's forthcoming. If to this moment in time you are content enough to still play the map, do so at your own risk, and perhaps you'll wander and venture around about it with a better insight. In any chance that aided in some of the findings in that map board of GM Hyde, all that can be said is this. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Ephesians 6:12.